There we go. For folks who don't know me, my background's architecture. I have been both on the owner's representative side as well as, on the design side, implementing sustainable measures across complex assets such as NASA Johnson Space Center, to oil and gas industry, federal courthouse systems, Department of Defense, you name it, even the most complex assets. I was there to embed sustainable measures or try and achieve certifications such as LEED Silver. That was a natural flow to found IncentiFind. So let me just tell you about IncentiFind if you don't know us already. We are the nation's best database for real estate incentives, and we're going to show you what those are here in a second. In a nutshell, we are here to bring and reveal cost-saving incentives to any property, new or existing, anywhere in the United States. We do not work in the US territories, right? So it's the 50 states proper, but we can bring and reveal cost savings, both cash reimbursements as well as tax incentives. The only thing you're on the hook for as either the design firm, the construction firm, or the owner's representative, or maybe you're the owner developer on the line today or listening, is you're on the hook to do a 2-minute survey. That's it. Our database will do the rest of the work to reveal these cost saving incentives based on your survey response. And we're going to dive in deeper. Here's some changes. We are in Canada. We have expanded to Canada with a lot of our corporations with portfolios that span, US and Canada. No, we have not gone across the southern border. We do get asked that. Right now, we're okay just being in the United States and Canada. The other thing is we're about to do a database recount. Where we're headed, this is more than tripled. So, stay tuned. An announcement will go out across all our social media channels. Really, the takeaway here is that incentives are being unleashed like crazy as states and cities and local governments really do more than just create a nice to have climate action plan. They're turning that into mandates. And anytime you hear mandate, anytime you hear new policy, think incentives. The two will go hand in hand, okay? So incentives are being pumped out like crazy this year, and we anticipate that's only going to grow. Another thing here is we are MBE or WBE certified. That just means a minority and women business owned enterprise. So if any of your projects need to check that box, yes, IncentiFind can absolutely do that. Alrighty, you keep hearing me say database for real estate incentives. What are we coalescing? We're coalescing federal, state, county, city, and utility level incentives, 5 levels of government across 50 states. When we say utility, please know that means gas, electric, water. Yes, each one of these matter, especially in your mixed use, multifamily, hospitality, drought prone states. You name it, there can be very lucrative offerings, especially on the waterfront. So don't just think energy efficiency. You can see here further, we coalesce incentives from 5 levels of government across 50 states, but we make it digestible to 3 ownership types. Maybe you're the property owner of an existing asset, or you're representing that person. Maybe you're a developer and you plan to develop and sell the asset to an operator. We have incentives specifically for that case. Maybe you're a developer and you plan to develop and own the asset. We have incentives for that as well. Maybe you're representing a tenant. Yes, there are tenant focused incentives. So we take all of these incentives and make them not only matching to the property type, right, but also to the ownership type. Here's a flavor of what's in our database. Like I said, this is last year's count. Anticipate this number to triple. Here is the types of incentives we house. If you haven't used IncentiFind before, we're going to have tax incentives, grant programs. Lots of grant programs are coming out in the recycling front and the electric vehicle charge station front. So just kind of heads up there. We've been seeing some really fantastic grant programs. Fee waivers, this is especially for our developers. If you're addressing affordable housing, infill, senior housing, expect those things to get some pretty decent fee waivers across the country. Rebates, these are just cash reimbursements. Think of it, if you install that LED lighting or energy efficient equipment or water conserving equipment, so long as you install that above code measure, you can expect a cash reimbursement. And then we have bill credits. Look, this is great if you plan to keep the property or if you're a tenant paying the electric, water, or gas bills. As long as you are the one installing the piece of equipment and paying that bill, you could get those savings in the form of a bill credit. These aren't as common as rebates, but they do exist and we do house those. The main thing to know about our database is it's bifurcated. New construction resides on a totally different side of the house versus existing buildings, right? So let me go through the two, and I will describe also a scenario where you might have a site development that addresses both. So on the new construction side of the house, here's how we're gonna look at your asset. You're gonna pop in that 2-minute survey. It is a guided survey. Go to incentifind.com, log in, so it keeps everything confidential, and it's gonna guide you as you answer each question. Additional questions are going to pop up. It's a smart survey, and it's to make sure that it's matchmaking your asset to incentives that are true, that your asset's truly eligible for, right? So we're going to scan your property for all energy efficiency opportunities. This is indoor, outdoor, building envelope, roof, you name it. It's everything that touches that energy efficiency front. We've got the renewables. This is mostly solar, yes. So if you're in an area like California where this is now mandated across multifamily assets, or maybe you're in Massachusetts and they're about to pass that solar mandate, we have those solar incentives, okay? We also have water conservation. This is indoor, outdoor. And like I said, it's just as expensive to pump water through a building. So a lot of our building owners are really wanting to know what's on the water conservation front, right? The last thing we'll do, again, you need to own the land, right? So this is not, the other category is not going to be as good for tenants. But if you own the land that the asset's going to sit on, we'll look at everything from brownfield development, EV charge stations, certifications such as LEED, Green Globes. We have not seen much on the wellness front, but we do anticipate those are going to follow suit with like LEED certification and Green Globes. Opportunity zones, new market tax credit. This is huge, especially on the new construction front. If you got industrial assets, you know someone who has industrial assets, logistics, manufacturing, across the country, these two tax credits have been incredibly lucrative to go after. We also have PACE, which is just an innovative financing mechanism. It can help to add to a capital stack if you're a developer or representing a developer listening on the line. PACE is just a great loan product that can help add to the capital stack, can eliminate that mezzanine. It is not passed in all 50 states. It is only eligible in certain parts of the country. So we can look to see, are you in this zone that offers PACE as a loan? And this could be an innovative financing mechanism to add to your capital stack, okay? And it's eligible to both new construction and existing buildings. Resilience and smart building tech, these are exciting incentive programs. Cities are stepping up their pilot programs. Come to IncentiFind. We are helping a lot of cities across the nation pilot their resilience incentives. This is flood mitigation, stormwater runoff, fireproofing, hurricane proofing. We're starting to see even tornado, wind, it's called wind proofing, but it's to address tornadoes right down, Tornado Valley. So we're really excited to see a lot happening on the resilience and smart building tech front. And then existing buildings, we're going to look at your asset the exact same way, but again, on the existing building front. The incentives offered for new construction, not the same as existing buildings. Let me just address one thing we get asked all the time. IncentiFind, I have a development and we're going to be taking an existing building asset. We're going to be cutting it down to the core and shell, and we're developing a brand new asset next to us. What do? You need to enter them in as separate surveys, right? It's a bifurcated database. We need to access both databases in order to reveal the incentives, okay? All right, so things you might already know about IncentiFind because you're here on today's webinar. We still stand as the only national database that can connect any property in the United States and now Canada to incentives using this 2-minute survey. If you're curious about the sheer amount of volume and the sheer amount of incentives, right? It's about 25,000 commercial properties being connected to about 20 billion in incentives each year. Who uses us? This is really, I'm going to blaze through this because I think some folks on the line already know this. We do work a lot with the lending industry. They offer fantastic, construction loans. And so lenders are really keen to offer and pay for our Verify Report product to make sure that the individual taking out the construction loan knows about the cost saving incentives that are available to any construction type and property type. Obviously, the architecture, engineering, sustainability, and GC industries use us. We bring value add to every single project. No one in the AEC industry, unless they are also the owner of the asset, no one absorbs our Verify Report fee. So it's a nice way to bring value to every single project without additional cost. And the only thing you're on the hook for is filling out that 2-minute survey on behalf of the owner you're representing. We also work with corporate real estate. So if you are representing anyone with lots of real estate in a portfolio fashion, we can absolutely help them. The way we do that is we can look at a sweeping portfolio, kind of anywhere or sporadically across the nation. And we can help reveal things like, well, we have, and I'm just going to make up numbers here, we have 100 assets across the United States. 60 of them are over 40 years old. We are due for some major upgrades. We're trying to do our capital improvement planning, and we're trying to figure out, what our budget is. That particular corporation could be connected to IncentiFind. We can grab that list of 60 assets across the nation that they're looking at as part of this capital improvement planning and reveal cost saving incentives. Remember, we have a database that spans the entire United States. So we could show them, look, corporation, we know that not only do you have a corporate commitment to, net zero by 2050, like a lot of them are going towards, right? But you have lighting on, you have some low hanging fruit upgrades. You have lighting upgrades, full fixture on the docket. You really want to see if you can afford HVAC upgrades as part of this COVID prevention to go back into your office and attract and retain those current tenants you have. Here are, across those 60 assets, here are incentives that are available to really reduce the cost or provide a cash reimbursement for the full fixture upgrades. Here are some additional cost saving incentives for an HVAC, full unit upgrade as well. That helps that corporation understand cash reimbursements coming back to them and how much of that scope that they can afford, especially for, capital improvement planning. That same scenario that I just laid out works for the facility maintenance groups that might represent or be a third party to these corporations with real estate. Okay, so we're great for one-off projects, but we're also great for portfolios, and we're great for capital improvement planning. Here's kind of the long and short of it. We get asked this all the time. How do you guys compare to the DSIRE or Desire website? If you've used Desire, I'm sure you understand it's very difficult to navigate. Here's what IncentiFind does. In a single place, using a 2-minute survey, we want you to just waste 2 minutes, right? At Desire, you're going to be searching that database for hours. It's not going to tell you what you're eligible for, how it fits your scope, how it fits your asset type. What is the application period, open or closed? Do you need a preferred vendor or contractor? Who's going to help you apply to that? Because the paperwork's incredibly messy. We take all of that using a 2-minute survey about your property, right? That's the only thing you're on the hook for. And we put that into a nice, neat report that, tells that exact story. It will say, for your new construction hospitality project located in Houston, Texas, right? You can expect the following incentives from federal, state, county, city, and utility level governments. And here's why you're eligible. Here's the equipment you would need to install. Here's how long it's going to take to apply to this incentive. Here's how much you could expect if you install, XYZ equipment. And here's how IncentiFind can help you apply. Click this button, right? It's about revealing data that matters at that moment to help with the decision-making process of either making that deal pencil, expanding or justifying that capital improvement planning scope, right? Or just bringing additional cost savings to justify trying to reach new sustainability commitments, right? So here are the property types that IncentiFind's great for. We get asked, Are there any projects that I shouldn't bring to IncentiFind? The answer is yes. There's only two types of projects. Please don't bring to IncentiFind because we can't help you, right? You can see on this side of the screen that I'm hovering over for commercial sector, residential sector, any of these property types or ownership types, fantastic for IncentiFind. We are a vertical built environment, permanent building database. Please don't bring us a golf course with no buildings on it. Yes, people have done that. We can't help you. We don't have those kinds of horizontal incentives yet, right? Please don't bring us, a temporary asset. So a lot of these vaccination pop-up sites that have gone up, right? An RV park, we need to have permanent meters to work from. So if it's not a permanent building, if it's mobile, if it's a temporary facility, we can't help you, okay? So it needs to be permanent, needs to be vertical. At the end of the day, if you're not familiar, we have one product, one service. You've been hearing me talk about 2-minute survey. Well, what happens after the 2-minute survey? We reveal all cost saving incentives available to the property in two types of ways, right? Either you're going to do a 2-minute survey for a single building and we'll reveal all eligible cost saving incentives to that single building. And we call that a verify report. It verifies what the property is eligible to go after. Or maybe you do have a multiple building development. Maybe you have a portfolio. In other words, maybe you have more than one building you need to put a survey in for, right? That's okay. We understand that that happens. So you might purchase what's called a portfolio report. It's just for multiple buildings. Same survey that you fill out. Remember, our survey is quite smart. So you just indicate the number of buildings, or if it's a portfolio that you are submitting to IncentiFind. It should still take you 2 minutes to blaze through that, okay? So after you input that survey, you purchase a product, either for a single building or multiple buildings. We'll look at the price point here in a second. After you know what you're eligible for based on this product that reveals all eligible incentives, right? The next most logical step is no one wants to take on the burden of applying to incentives. We have about a 90 plus conversion rate for people who purchase our reports, also saying, please take care of the apply services. I'm not doing this. So yes, we do offer services to take that off your plate. Notice we do in-house application fulfillment for any of the utility-backed incentives, electric, water, and gas utilities, right? If it's tax related, no, we're not a financial tax firm. Don't worry, we're not going to get you excited about tax incentives and just leave you hanging. We have partnered with some amazing tax firms across the country, big and small, even lobbyist groups. And so with a click of a button, you can say, ooh, this, alternative fuel tax really excites me because I'm looking at electric vehicles on my multifamily asset. I'm going to connect to, ABC tax firm, and John Smith is going to tell me more about this. And sure enough, I will have an automated email connecting you to John Smith at ABC tax firm. And he's going to be able to tell you the good, the bad, the ugly about the alternative fuel tax on your particular property for your electric vehicles. So again, we're here to be those turnkey incentive services. Here's our process. Now you know our 2-minute survey. We sell one product for, sold in two different ways, either a multiple building or a single building, right? And you heard about our service, right? We have in-house application fulfillment for utility-backed incentives, and we're not going to leave you hanging on the tax front. We're going to connect you to appropriate tax professionals that can tell you the good, the bad, the ugly about a tax incentive on your property. So let's put the process together. We can't guess anything about your new construction or existing building project, right? You have to tell us. You're going to be on the hook for a whopping 2 minutes to fill out that survey at IncentiFind.com. This is the biggest thing. People always ask, why is there a fee for Verify Report? Because if we didn't have a fee for Verify Report, we'd have to sell all the data you input into our surveys, right? That would be how we monetize it. Because I came from your world, your background, right? I was an owner's rep. I was on the design side. I know that this is not appropriate for a lot of you folks. You want to keep your projects confidential. So we don't sell any of your surveys to third parties. When you enter a survey at IncentiFind.com, you have to sign up. You have to be logged in. It is secured. It stays between you and IncentiFind. That's it. It does not get shared beyond that. So you're going to pop that in. And you will see, you'll hear from Grace, who's on the line today. I'll introduce her in a second, but you're going to see how much does a property like yours with that particular scope in that particular part of the country, on average, what do they usually see in cash reimbursements, in tax incentives? We have all that historical data. We can send it to you. No, it's not a perfect number, but it's to give you a flavor of what's out there, right? So we'll kind of tell you, okay, we think your estimate of cost savings could be this for rebates and that for tax incentives. So after you put that 2-minute survey, you'll be prompted to pay the whopping $500 flat fee for our Verify report. It is meant to be a low dollar figure. It's meant to be a flat fee to help you plan, to help you put this on every single project. This is for a single building. If you have multiple buildings, maybe it's a campus or a portfolio, when you fill out your survey, the second you click a button that says this is for a campus, this is for a portfolio, the pricing chart reveals itself, and you'll see we drop that down super low, because the Verify report should never stop you. The fee for the Verify report should never stop you from going forward and purchasing that, okay? We're going to look at case studies where Grace, who's on the line, she oversees the production of every single Verify report on all our commercial properties across the country. And she would be the one to kind of talk through and review your Verify report results with, right? We're not just going to send you a list of incentives and leave you hanging. Remember, we're going to go over those with you, help you cherry pick them, help you understand which ones have red tape around them, which ones fit with your construction schedule, which ones, oh man, they just don't have a good reputation of being an incentive program with a good success rate. She's there to guide you through that. Once you cherry pick all the incentives that you like, that's where you can click a button and say, I am not going to be on the hook to do all the paperwork associated with that incentive. IncentiFind, go help me apply to this. And we can do that with a click of a button. It literally says on your Verify report, help me apply IncentiFind. Click that, and it authorizes our apply services team to go and grab the appropriate specifications, drawings, and invoices to prove you're installing the eligible equipment, right? They're going to do all that work without charging a fee until you successfully install it. We grab the funds from the utility level government, and we will pull a success fee out of that. In other words, you don't owe us anything, and you're not going to pay us out of your pocket. It's going to come out of the cost savings from each incentive. So let me just give you a story to kind of help put this together. Let's pretend you had a full fixture, LED lighting replacement on one of your properties. And let's pretend it was worth $100. Obviously, we deal with far larger figures, but let's just use this as square numbers. You'd say, wow, in your Verify report review, Grace, that LED lighting rebate is really attractive. I want that $100. We're installing those lights. I know it for a fact. You'd click the button, say, help me apply IncentiFind. IncentiFind would say, okay, great. Send us the invoices for the LED full fixture, change out. Send us the plans and specs. We'll go chase down the incentive. We're going to get it earmarked, submit the application. We'll coordinate inspections, do all that work for you. And when that $100 check is reserved, you install the lights. We prove that the lights were installed, right, by photos or other things or an inspection. That $100 is then sent to you. We take $25 of it, you keep $75. So we try to take on as much of that risk as possible, as much of that work. And the best part is most folks look at the 25% fee, ask why that is, because let's pretend halfway through, the design process, you decide to value engineer those LED lights out. Do you owe IncentiFind any money? Because we already coordinated everything. We already grabbed the specs. We already put in the applications. We earmarked the funds. We did all that work, right? Do you owe IncentiFind anything? No, you don't. So that's why our fee is 25%. We're trying to de-risk it because remember, we know your world. We know a lot of that can happen, okay? So that's the process. Put in the 2-minute survey, pay the fee for the Verify report, let IncentiFind do the apply services, okay, off of a success fee. Here's what that time commitment looks like. Whopping 2 minutes on your end. You're probably going to want a 1-hour call with Grace. You're going to have questions about which incentives to cherry pick, okay? She's going to give you 2 case studies today and tell you the story about how the customer she helped cherry picked their incentives that were just right for their project, their construction schedule, their scope of work, and how we help them apply to those incentives. So you're going to want that 1-hour call. And of course, you're going to be on the hook to forward us the documents. We can't, again, we need these materials from you. So this is your time commitment on any project, right? Maybe a couple of hours for, 6-figure kind of return to your project in the form of, cash reimbursements and tax incentives. So this particular slide, we want to let you know, we've heard you guys, your feedback. A lot of you all want to know really and truly IncentiFind, when is the sweet spot for my asset type in my part of the country, right? With my scope of work, when is the sweet spot for me to submit a survey? We're revamping this planning and estimating incentives to suit those kinds of questions. We want to make sure this speaks to each and every one of you. But the rule of thumb you should take away today, with more incentives coming online, with more projects that we are touching, here's the best rule of thumb I can give you. The sooner you submit your project, the better. And if I was to tell you the best time to do it during the design phase. Seriously, get it in there. A lot of the most lucrative incentives are going to want to be engaged during the design phase. So sooner rather than later. All right, let me introduce Grace Bennett, who's going to tell 2 stories about 2 particular case studies. As you know, we feature 2 real case studies every single month based on what folks like you ask us to present. So these 2 were requested. We're happy to put them out there. Grace is going to tell the story of how the customer came in to learn about IncentiFind, how they filled out the 2-minute survey, how they cherry picked the incentives during their verify report review call, and how they went on to use IncentiFind to capture the incentives. The only thing I ask during this time, if you do have questions, please be mindful that we do have permission to share these at an anonymized level. So take heart in the fact that the discretion we're showing today, if we ever ask for one of your projects, we'll show your project the same discretion. Please keep your questions at a high level, okay? Without further ado, Grace, floor is yours.
All right, great. Thanks, Natalie. Let's look at this first one here. Let's just kick it off. This was one that came to us. It's a bar and restaurant. It was part of a multi-building development. This was specifically addressing their tap house on site there. This was where the developer, owner, operator, all of that, he came to us in the design phase of the project. It was right after like the structural and architectural plans were finalized, but before they had done anything with the MEP plans and design. So it was kind of in between those 2. From there, I went ahead and pulled together, he filled out that search survey. I pulled together a report. I think it took me just a few days. We hopped on a call. We were able to address pretty much everything in just about a half hour. And that's where you see in that middle bracket there, I showed him 16 eligible incentives and we considered 4. So why just a quarter of those? That's because you can look over on the right, the local utility in that territory, they have a whole encompassing new construction program. So really we said, all right, let's run it under this one. It's got the highest success rate. It's going to be the most lucrative and it's going to align with your scope and even can help influence the scope. So we got them right again in that good phase of, before MEP was finalized. So we went ahead and said, all right, let's go chase after that new construction rebate. And that, of course, paid out on lighting, HVAC. They were able to kind of choose more efficient food service equipment for the kitchen. Even the building envelope, like the insulation was above code. So they got to, reap dollars after that. And even miscellaneous stuff, it was the building orientation even garnered some extra money. So that was kind of the big one at the utility level for those cash rebates was the new construction program. And then we identified a couple of tax incentives as well. There's a statewide sales and use tax refund on the table. And then you guys might be familiar, the federal level 179D, it's an energy efficiency tax credit for basically exceeding that local energy code. So again, with that, the timeline of the construction was just about 5 or 6 months, and they have actually turned to us to help address incentives for other properties going up in that development there. So
Thank you for that, Grace. And so just so you can kind of put this together, remember 2-minute survey entered. There's that soft estimate. Remember, we're going to tell you, okay, for a bar and restaurant, new construction in that part of the country, with that scope of work, you could estimate about this much, right? Look how close that came to, the applied services, right? So our historical data can be fairly accurate at times, right? It can almost hit the nail on the head there. But like Grace said, there technically could have been more money on the table, but it would require that the owner of this particular establishment go well above code, perhaps, breaking the budget on certain equipment. They shared this, verify report with the design team to help evaluate that and said, look, we've already established our scope of work. So we're going to go after these 4 incentives, take the cash on the table, which we all know is definitely important in the bar and restaurant scene right now with the way COVID's hit it. And so this is cash they're going to receive the second that eligible equipment is installed. And of course, their tax group is going to make sure they use the verify report as a checklist to grab this, sales and use tax fund, as well as the 179D. All righty, Grace, I'll take it to the next one. There you go.
Okay, great. Yeah, this was one out in Nevada, up by Lake Tahoe. This was one where the property owner, so it was a property owner and operator, not necessarily the developer, but he came to us again at that same stage. Essentially, it was in that design phase. Natalie kind of hit on that's key. So kind of the sooner the better. Anyway, so he came to us and entered in that search survey on this property pretty early on. From there, I pulled together that report, and you can see in that middle bracket, 24 eligible incentives. We went after 6. That was 6 at the utility. There was one at the state, and then a couple of federal level incentives as well. Again, a lot of times when I'm lining up these incentives, what makes sense for the report, what is recommended, I'm looking at the timeline, the construction timeline, and really how much it aligns to their scope. So when he first came to us, he was really interested in solar. He was going after solar. Nevada's really, they're on the rise as far as offering rebates and incentives, even at the state level for renewables. So he was very intrigued in that. From that report, though, I was able to add and said, hey, I was able to add these other utility incentives outside of just the net metering and solar rebate program that was available, and pointed them to the new construction program where, they could incentivize, lighting and building envelope, HVAC, stuff like that. Now, while a storage unit, or storage facility might not be the most complex or intricate of systems, we were still able to go after a decent amount, a solar, the renewables being a large chunk of that, but the lighting and even adding simple or lighting controls, occupancy sensors, such like that. That was a big boost in dollar savings. And because I came to him with that soft estimate in our phone call, our verify review call, he came back and said, well, you know what? I've looked at the comps, and let's go ahead and we've decided to add heating to partial unit of the store or the storage unit. So anyway, we were actually able to find a furnace incentive for them as well. So we added that on there, and you can see rough estimate came out to be right about $35,000. In addition to, again, that's just cash reimbursement utility levels. We found a few tax-related incentives. Again, a lot of them dealing with solar, that energy efficiency tax credit again, because they were going above code with the LED lighting, that building envelope, and even the furnace was very efficient. So we were able to grab that. That was all wrapped under that 179D tax credit. And then they were actually in a USDA grant territory. So given the location, they qualified for an extra grant from USDA, which helped kind of offset their install of EV charging stations. So kind of a win-win. He started just looking at solar, and we really opened that up for him. So pretty successful project.
Absolutely. And I like this one because a lot of projects will see sort of one of two avenues. Like on the last project, look, the bar and restaurant was pretty set in stone, right? As far as what they'd have established, their budget was very limited, how the design was going to play into the opening of this new bar and restaurant, right? And so they were just going to be rewarded for going above code. And that's fine. A lot of projects can do that. They can come to IncentiFind and be rewarded for that design. Others are going to come to IncentiFind and say, hold on a second, I didn't realize there was going to be additional cost savings on the table. I really wanted ABC in my scope, and I think now I can afford that. Let me go back and look at the cash flow. Let me look at the pro forma and see how I can add that. Let me have that conversation with my design team. And so we usually will see one of those two scenarios play out, right? A customer being rewarded and another one being able to justify and expand their scope. So this is pretty exciting. All righty. Let me head. I wanted to go over, I promised. And by the way, type your questions into the chat if you have them. I wanted to just quickly touch on a few things and some resilience incentives, because I know we got a ton of questions from folks. Want to make sure I point them back to our YouTube channel. Real quick, resilience incentives popping up. How are those going to affect a lot of you folks? We're actually working in the state of Florida right now. These are going to be your hurricane proofing incentive programs. These are all newly piloted. We anticipate those coming into the database fairly soon. So if you've got assets in Florida that will have components to the building, especially on building envelope, that could help with that higher wind capacity, there's a chance there could be incentives available at the state level, right, that we're currently getting into the database. As far as California, lots of new fireproofing incentives being deployed sort of statewide, to be honest. We are seeing it at the state level, but come more localized at the city level. Cities are really trying to address this as well. So if you're looking at any sort of fireproofing, state of California is really looking at that. Your drought prone states, it's kind of like half of Texas, Colorado here, right? Your drought prone states, they are stepping up water conservation at a whole new level. We've got an entire research team that's staying focused in this drought prone area, drought prone part of the country. So anticipate those incentives to really help with, indoor and outdoor water conservation. And then City of Boston specifically looking at more flood mitigation and more flood mitigation and resilience incentives. And then portions of here, upper east, northeast side, looking at rising sea levels. So they're just kind of scratching that initiative, but those should be coming in as well. I wanted to be sure I said that because I think it's a really exciting time to think about resilience. Remember, resilience is making your, new construction or existing building asset more weather resistant. And let's be honest, extreme weather is on the rise, right? So just letting you know that. One last thing I always end with is, and Grace helped me keep a check on the chat in case there's questions. We get asked, okay, what do I do from here? How do I get started? Go to IncentiFind.com. I'm just going to quickly blaze through this, okay? Go to IncentiFind.com. Click this icon over here. You need to sign up. Remember, we don't want your survey swimming out there anywhere online. Sign up, then log in once you have. Now, your dashboard is going to look a lot different than mine. I have an admin level dashboard, but I just want to show you a search survey real quick. Here's what a search survey is going to look like for you. You're going to come in here. It's going to take you all of 2 minutes to populate this. None of these questions really should take you by surprise, to be honest, right? But do make sure you know as much as you answer as accurately as possible on each one of these questions. Our rule of thumb is the more accurate you are on answering these questions, the more accurate your soft estimate and verify report are going to be. Okay, so really try to get as close to that as possible. And we can always help you. You can always go to our YouTube channel and watch the video on how to fill out a survey for you know, a multifamily, a mixed use, a multi-building development, and so on and so forth. Watch how the price, go ahead, it pops up right away on the right-hand side of the screen, right? And remember, I told you about campuses, portfolios, there pops up that reporting price. So if you start entering, you know, a certain amount of buildings, there you go. It's going to tell you, okay, we cut that in half. And as you enter more buildings, right, we're going to drop it lower. If you decide to put in more assets, yes, we've had people put in about 1,800 assets at once. We can drop that even lower. So just let us know. And then the last bit is, let me come out of this. Let me just hit refresh. Hopefully, there we go. Is here's just a quick verify report example. It's a completely dummy report, but here's what a soft estimate would look like on the report after you fill out the 2-minute survey, hit submit, purchase the report. Here's what it would look like, right? We would show you all the information you entered in. We would give you access to your survey response. We'd say, okay, here's what's on the table for tax incentives using historical data. Here's what's on the table for rebates using historical data. Here's your projected cost savings, right? Then you're going to be able to talk through your entire list of incentives with Grace, because there's no way you want to navigate this all by yourself. Talk to her. She's seen it all. You'll come in here and you're just going to start cherry picking a bunch of, you know, incentive programs that are right for your project. And then, you know, right there on the screen, here's what a get connected button looks like. If it's a tax incentive, let me go grab a rebate one real quick, just so they can see what this looks like. And if IncentiFind, I love how this doesn't have the one example I'm looking for. If IncentiFind can help, it'll show you, it'll say help applied. Hold on one second. Nope. I will have to get in. I'll make sure tech gets an example in there. But instead of this button saying get connected, it'll say help apply, essentially. And that's how you activate our apply services. But that's pretty much what to expect. So remember, go to IncentiFind.com. Make sure you sign up, because that is just going to keep all of your information nice and safe. If you're looking for more case studies, just scroll to the bottom of our page. Hit that case study document. You can search to your heart's content on our current commercial case studies, portfolio reviews, you name it. It's all right there for you. So if there are no questions in the chat, which I'm not seeing any on my direct messages. Oh, yes. Okay. If you're, yeah, that's fine. We'll cover this. Actually, our YouTube channel will cover this. We're putting it out there. What is affiliates? I'm happy to explain that. If you could, I know you direct messaged me. If you could send me an email, I'll put my email in the chat right now. I'm happy to talk you through what affiliates means. Let me type this in real quick. Hang tight with me. Send to attendees. There you go. There's my email. Go ahead, grab it, send an email to me. I'm happy to talk you through our affiliate program. It does explain a lot of it here, but you can go to IncentiFind.com and have a look at our affiliate program, how to become an affiliate, why you should. But I do recommend at least having a call with me. Our affiliate program is not for everybody. It's usually great for those in the architecture, engineering, construction, and real estate consulting realms. Okay. Alrighty, folks, if there's no additional questions, let me just check real quick. Nope, that's it. And thank you. Yes, I'm glad I answered that. If there's no additional questions, we'll see you back here next month. The first Wednesday of every month, we put together a commercial demo. And so we will see you then. If you want to see a particular asset asset type featured in a particular part of the country, feel free to grab my email address, email me, say, hey, Natalie, I'd really love to see an industrial asset in Oklahoma. Let us know. We have so many completed projects. We cannot present them all, but we certainly have them in our, Rolodex on the back end. Are happy to pull those to the front and walk you through one of those case studies. So we'll see you next month. Thank you.